This video presents select operating and safety procedures for Vermeer track and trailered low-speed shredders. The components and controls on your machine may look different from those in this video. However, most operating functions are similar. Your Vermeer low-speed shredder is equipped with safety features to help protect you from serious injury. However, safe work practices are also necessary for accident prevention. Improper use of the shredder could result in death or serious injury. For the safety of yourself and others, always use caution and good judgment. Vermeer supplies every shredder with 2 operators' manuals. One is in the resource library shipped with your shredder. The other is in the black storage box on the shredder, so it is always close. Before operating, all operators must thoroughly read and understand the operators and maintenance manuals, safety instructions, and safety signs on the machine. Replacement manuals and safety signs can be ordered from your Vermeer dealer. This video is a supplement to the machine's manuals and does not contain all the instructions required to properly operate your shredder. While watching this video, stop and review the information at any time, and consult your operator's manual to reinforce what you have learned. Allow only responsible, properly trained people to operate a low-speed shredder. Learn the controls, operation, and use of the machine from a trained and experienced operator. All operators must be familiar with job site safety rules and regulations, and must be mentally and physically capable of safely operating the machine. Before going over personal protective equipment, or PPE, remember, remove jewelry such as rings, watches, necklaces, or bracelets. Wear close-fitting clothes and confine long hair. All crew members on the job site must wear the following PPE. Safety shoes, wrap-around safety glasses or goggles, a hard hat, and hearing protection. Contact your local environmental specialist to determine the required level of hearing protection for your job site. If working in dusty conditions, wear an appropriate respirator. If working near traffic, wear reflective clothing. When handling hydraulics or rotor components, wear protective gloves. Next, let's take a look at your shredder's controls. First, we'll focus on the buttons and displays of the main control panel. Then, you'll get an overview of the remote control. Finally, we'll cover the switches, beacons, and alarms around the rest of the shredder. Here's the main control panel. The following functions are associated with each button. On trailered shredders, stabilizers are raised and lowered here. Next, raise and lower for the hopper extension. Then, raise and lower for the magnetic conveyor. Next, upper conveyor fold and unfold. Then, raise and lower for the entire discharge conveyor. There's also the belly conveyor reverse. And below that, optional rear work lights can be turned on and off. The comb is opened and closed here, while the comb cylinder is raised and lowered here. Here, momentary forward and reverse for the rotor. Next, magnetic conveyor on or off. And below that, discharge conveyor activation and deactivation. If equipped with water dust suppression, it can be turned on or off here. Here we have the horn button. The last 2 buttons select between operating modes, remote control or ground station control. At the top of each of these buttons, there are 3 lamps or indicators. These communicate information on function state, as well as faults. Consult your operator's manual for details. There are a few physical controls on the main panel. The ignition switch is located just to the right of the buttons. The 3 ports are CAN bus terminals for service technicians. Top right, there's the forward or rear remote antenna switch. Now you'll get an overview of the touchscreen display, the interface for the shredder. For in-depth information, consult your operator's manual. There are 5 screens that display and adjust a variety of machine parameters. The engine information screen, the work screen, the additional control screen, the settings screen, and the data display screen. The engine information screen is the default, appearing when the shredder starts. Here you'll see the engine speed. In this box, you will see any active alerts or warnings. On the right, you'll see monitors for the following: coolant temp, intake air or boost pressure, oil pressure, engine load, machine hours, fuel level, and def level. The work screen shows the status of various shredder functions. The alert box and engine speed displays remain, but the rotor indicator, rotor speed monitor, and droop settings have been added. And above, you'll now see rotor direction and engine droop information. This is the status data widget. The fuel and def level indicators are fixed. The remaining 4 parameters can be customized by the operator. At the top is a row of indicators which turn green when the following are active: ground station controls, remote controls, auto shred, clutch, comb work mode, and comb service mode. In the mode widget, the auto shred mode is displayed up top, while the box shows the discharge conveyor speed and comb pressure. The auto shred mode settings are accessible via the menu button. There are 3 auto shred modes: number 1 for light duty, number 2 for medium duty, and number 3 for heavy duty. For information on the droop speed and comb pressure of each mode, refer to your operator's manual. On the far right of both the work screen and the engine information screen, there are 3 function icons. The throttle icon, where you can toggle through preset engine speeds. The diagnostic display icon, which brings up a window showing active and historic faults. And the cooling fan purge icon, which reverses the fan for a set period. Moving along, on the Additional Controls screen, you can access the work light controls. On the Settings screen, there are 4 tabs: Machine Settings, User Settings, Display Settings, and Device Info. Details on each setting can be found in your operator's manual. The Data Display screen shows 8 or more user-selected machine parameters. Complete instructions on customizing this screen can also be found in your operator's manual. Next, let's look at the remote control, which is stored on the inside of the control panel door. Remember, consult your operator's manual for explanations of all remote functions before operating. In the middle, we have the LCD display. Below is a group of buttons associated with the following functions. The top row includes Power, Menu, Up and Down Navigation, and Enter. On the middle row, we have On/Off for the discharge conveyor, Throttle, Engine Stop, Fan Purge, and Momentary Rotor Forward. On the bottom row, there's also the belly conveyor reverse, Track Speed, Auto Shred, Comb Engagement, and Momentary Rotor Reverse. The group of buttons on the left raise and lower the discharge conveyor and access the magnetic conveyor menu. The 2 buttons on the right allow the operator to track the machine forward and back, while the tracks can be operated individually using the joysticks in the top corners. Additional features are available via the menu on the remote. Consult your operator's manual for full details. To enable the remote, press the Remote Control button on the operator console. Retrieve the remote and press the Power button. Once connected, enter the access code in your operator's manual. The work screen indicator will turn green, and the amber beacons on the machine will light. Enabling the remote will disable the main control panel. Check the remote's range before operating. The Engine Stop button will not work if it's out of range. Maximum recommended range is 300 feet or 100 meters. Next, let's look at a few physical controls located around the machine. There are 2 emergency stop switches. These will cause an immediate engine shutdown, bringing the machine to a stop as quickly as possible. The rotor disable switch stops the engine and prevents unexpected rotor movement when access to the rotor box is required. Here is where the battery can be disconnected and locked out. Verify that the DEF purge light is off before disconnecting the battery. If equipped with engine work lights, there are 2 switches where they can be turned on and off, here and here. A portable service light can be powered via this port. There are light beacons and audio alarms which alert operators to certain machine conditions. When the amber beacon lights, the remote is active or auto shred has been engaged. When the blue beacon lights, it indicates an active fault. The audible alarms communicate a variety of information regarding machine movement and rotor operation. Carefully read and understand the alarms outlined in your operator's manual. What follows is an overview of the startup and shutdown procedures common to most Vermeer low-speed shredders. Always follow the startup and shutdown procedures as instructed in your operator's manual. Before startup, perform the following preliminary checks. Inspect the air inlet piping system and elbows for cracks and loose clamps. Ensure the hoses and tubes are not contacting other hoses, tubes, or wiring harnesses. Make sure no one is on the machine. Verify all emergency stops are pulled out. Enable the rotor and connect the battery. To start the engine, turn the ignition switch to run, then to start, releasing the key once the engine starts. Never run the starter for more than 30 seconds at a time. Allow it to cool for 2 minutes between attempts. To shut down the machine, confirm all material in the rotor box has been shredded and discharged by the conveyor. Shut off auto shred. Wait for the engine to reach low idle. The indicator on the work panel of the display will go out when rotation has stopped. Look at the flywheel to confirm the rotor has stopped. When the rotor has come to a complete stop and all shredded material is discharged, shut off the conveyor. When shutting down after operating at full power, whenever safe and practical, allow the engine to idle for 1 to 5 minutes before turning off the ignition. See your machine's engine manual for details. If using the remote control, shut off and store it while waiting for the rotor to stop. Turn the ignition off and remove the key. If at the end of the workday, wait for the DEF purge light to turn off. Then lock the battery disconnect switch to help meet lockout/tagout requirements. There are 2 ways to quickly stop the machine. Use the emergency stop switches on either side of the machine. Or press the engine stop button on the remote control. Failure to follow the shutdown procedure before you work on the machine can result in unexpected hazards. For your safety and the safety of others, use the shutdown procedure before working on the shredder for any reason, including servicing, cleaning, unclogging, inspecting, or transporting the machine. Now, let's look at moving the shredder and the transport guidelines for both tracked and trailered low-speed shredders. First, verify that the machine is clear of all debris, obstacles, and personnel. For tracked machines, detach, fold, or lower flashing as outlined in the operator's manual. Failure to do so may result in machine damage. With the shredder on, the comb in work position, and the ladder stowed, lower the magnetic conveyor against the discharge conveyor, then raise and fold the full conveyor. Verify all access panels are closed and secured and the machine is free of debris. Start with a level loading area. Ensure the trailer is clean and the surface is not slippery. Unintended machine movement can cause death or serious injury. After surveying the area to verify personnel are clear, use the remote to track the machine as needed. When driving, machine tracks can crush. Stay at least 15 feet or 4.5 meters away when moving the shredder. Do not ride on the machine and stay uphill. Terrain, conditions, machine motion, or rollover can cause death or serious injury. Prior to trailering, read the towing vehicle and trailer manuals for safety precautions, weight limit, and distribution information. Ensure both the trailer and the towing vehicle are rated to handle the weight and maintain control of the load. Use slow and smooth movements to center the shredder behind the trailer. Do not attempt to steer the shredder until the machine tracks are completely on the trailer. Stop the machine at the tie-down position. Store the remote and follow the shutdown procedure. Verify the ladder and safety cones are properly secured. Using appropriately sized chains and load binders, secure the shredder to the trailer. Attach and tighten chains as outlined in your operator's manual. Verify that the hitch is securely attached. Make sure the trailer's brake connectors and electrical connector are attached to the towing vehicle and the highway lights and brakes function properly. Stow any remaining loose items. When transporting, remember to obey all applicable laws regarding the use of lights, safety chains, and other requirements concerning road use. Trailered machines need to be attached to a towing vehicle to be moved. To complete hookup on trailered low-speed shredders, verify that the discharge conveyor is folded up, all access panels are closed and secured, and the machine is free of debris. Follow the startup procedure. Then, adjust the shredder's kingpin height to match the towing vehicle. Ensure the towing vehicle is properly lubricated, locks are open, and ramps are properly adjusted. Back up close to the trailer. Verify the park brake is enabled and the service brake is disabled. Continue to back up closer to the kingpin. Adjust stabilizers as needed. If equipped, use the towing vehicle's handbrake to prevent hitting the kingpin too hard. Firmly lock onto the kingpin and pull forward to test the connection. Visually verify the kingpin connection is locked, with no gap between the bolster plate and the fifth wheel. Engage the manual secondary lock if equipped. Attach the air brake lines, the trailer light connector, the fog light connector, and the electronic brake system. Ensure all lines are supported. Apply and test the brakes. Ensure all highway lights and vehicle indicators function properly. Refer to your operator's manual for additional details. Raise both stabilizers. Then follow the shutdown procedure. Enable the service brake and disable the park brake. Pull ahead slightly with the handbrake down to ensure the brakes are working. Continue your pre-trip inspection. When you arrive at the job site, survey the operating area before you set up the shredder. Keep all spectators away. Whether operating a tracked or trailered shredder, reverse the associated steps as outlined in the previous chapter. Complete unloading or unhooking steps are also outlined in your operator's manual. Always operate the machine outdoors. Engine exhaust can asphyxiate or poison, resulting in death or serious injury. If it is necessary to operate the engine in an enclosed area, properly vent exhaust gases. Keep the machine away from overhead power lines, according to the information in your operator's manual. Electrocution hazard exists around an energized overhead power line. If equipment gets near or contacts energized overhead power lines, all connected equipment and surrounding ground surface will be energized. Death or serious injury will result due to electrocution. Position the machine on a stable, level location that will keep ejected materials away from people and property. Also, consider wind direction, fire extinguisher accessibility, and intended discharge location. Unfold and fully lower the discharge conveyor. If equipped, position the magnetic conveyor at the desired height above the discharge conveyor. The magnetic field is always on and present. Individuals wearing a pacemaker must stay back 12 inches or 30 centimeters. Keep hands away from the magnet when loose metal objects are nearby. Metal objects may pinch fingers and hands against it. If minor straight line adjustment of a trailered shredder's position is needed, the optional creep drive can be used. Prior to moving the shredder, confirm that the parking brake is enabled, the service brake is disabled, and that the shredder is disconnected from any towing vehicle. The creep drive is controlled via the remote. Stand clear when moving the machine. After a few seconds of inactivity, or when air pressure drops below 80 psi, the shredder's parking brakes are automatically reapplied, and the creep drive will disengage. Before operating, it's important to properly prepare the work area. Carefully review the list of permitted and prohibited material in your operator's manual. Inspect the raw material pile and remove prohibited items. To help avoid rotor plugs, remove as much dirt and mud from raw material as is practical. If dealing with wet, gummy material, mix in dry or vine-like material. Establish the thrown object zone, where personnel are prohibited whenever material is being processed. To set up, retrieve the 4 safety cones provided with the shredder and verify that both the cones and their safety signs are in good condition. Follow cone distance requirements as outlined in your operator's manual, with the safety signs positioned evenly around the machine and facing outward. All equipment operating in the thrown object zone are required to have enclosed, protective cabs. Material behavior during operation is unpredictable, and it can be ejected from the hopper at any time, at varying speeds and distances, as well as deflect off the loader's bucket. Thrown objects and falling objects can still penetrate an enclosed protective cab, resulting in death or serious injury. Always visually inspect the shredder before operating. The shredder must be in good condition, with any tips, mounts, and wedges secured, and all safety equipment functioning properly. Checking these components requires locking the comb into the service position. We will cover this procedure later when we discuss removing material jams and plugs. Remember, keep the shredder away from overhead power lines. We will cover safety procedures regarding contact with electrical lines in more detail in the following chapter. Place a container under the end of the magnetic conveyor to catch ferrous material. Install all discharge conveyor flashing. Detailed steps are outlined in your operator's manual. If equipped, a hopper extension can be manually adjusted, or it will automatically raise when entering auto shred mode. With the shredder off, make sure the access steps are clean and clear of all tools and debris. Inspect the radiator and shrouding, oil cooler, and air cleaner inlet shroud. Clean if airflow is restricted. If needed, use air tools to remove shredded combustible material from the engine area. Verify the access ladder is stowed. If equipped with a water dust suppression system, attach a water source and enable the system now. Now, let's review what to do if contact or arcing with a power line occurs. For crew members on the shredder or any supporting equipment, stay on the machine. If at the operator station, release the controls and step away. Anyone on the ground should shuffle away, keeping their feet close together and on the ground. Warn all personnel as soon as possible. Contact the utility company to shut off electrical power. Do not allow anyone to approach the machine or any connected equipment. Do not resume operation until the utility company declares the area safe. To begin operation, follow the startup procedure and warm up the engine. An operator must always be in control of the shredder. If auto shred is off, the operator may control the machine from the ground station. If auto shred is on, control must be maintained from outside the thrown object zone or in support equipment. Never leave the controls unattended. Start the discharge conveyor and set the engine to high idle. Adjust the conveyor height as needed, maintaining at least 10 feet of clearance from power lines. Set the discharge conveyor speed. This will engage the belly conveyor. To adjust the speed of the discharge conveyor relative to the belly conveyor, use the speed control valve located here. Entanglement in the moving conveyor belt and rollers can result in serious injury. Keep hands away and keep guards in place. If equipped, activate the rear work lights. To start the rotor, make sure the discharge conveyor is on. Engage auto shred. The amber beacons will illuminate. If enabled, optional dust suppression will automatically start and stop with auto shred. If you must reach an emergency stop switch while material is being processed, remember thrown and falling objects could result in death or serious injury. Approach the closest switch with the loader from the front or engine end. While feeding material, keep the following tips in mind. Always feed material into the hopper from a reasonable height. Do not push material, throw over the edge, or overfill the feed hopper. Do not vertically feed material. If material tends to wrap and catch on the rotor, manually reverse the rotor periodically to help keep it clean. Introduce wet and heavy material into the hopper slowly. Continually watch for prohibited materials and do not load them into the shredder. They will be thrown farther. Do not feed material by hand. Occasionally, material may jam or plug the shredder. We will go over removal instructions later in the video. For now, let's look at how to help avoid them. As material is processed, adjust the loading rate as necessary. To minimize plugging the magnetic conveyor, avoid feeding large pieces of ferrous material. Ensure material is properly discharged from the belt and the chute. And make sure the magnetic conveyor is at the correct height depending on burden depth. Lowering the discharge conveyor can also help avoid or reduce plugs. When you are done shredding, there are 3 ways to stop the rotor using the remote. The first 2 options involve the Auto Shred On/Off button. Press and hold the button, which starts a 3-second countdown, after which the rotor will automatically disengage, the engine will drop to low idle, and the discharge conveyor will stop. Or, press the button and select Yes when the Disengage Off prompt appears. The third option involves the throttle button. Press and hold. When the Disengage Off prompt appears, select Yes to exit Auto Shred. There are several steps you should follow to help prevent fires. Avoid prolonged operation of the rotor when material is not being discharged. Friction will generate excess heat. After shutdown and at the end of the day, clean the engine area and conveyors, removing flammable materials and following appropriate methods for disposal. Keep the engine area clear of debris, particularly around the exhaust system. Inspect removed debris for smoldering. Also, anytime the machine is to be left unattended, separate the machine from the discharge and raw material piles. Smoldering debris may ignite hours after shutting down. Keep an appropriately rated and charged fire extinguisher on the shredder and maintain accessibility to it. If a fire is detected, immediately shut down the machine. If the fire is small, use the fire extinguisher to put out the flames. If the fire is large, contact emergency services and attempt to move other property and/or equipment away. There are 2 ways to access material plugged in the rotor box: at the main outlet by raising and locking the magnetic conveyor, or from the side by raising and locking the comb into the service position. Access needs are dependent on the extent and the location of the jam. To access the rotor through the comb, complete the following steps. To raise the comb while in ground station control mode, open the left access hatch. With the rotor off, open the comb. Close the comb against the stop blocks. Fully lift the comb cylinders to clear the pockets. Falling material may result in serious injury. Stay away from the rotor box area until locking into service position with the lock pin. A raised comb can fall and crush. With the comb fully raised, engage and secure the comb service lock pin. Before accessing the rotor box, follow the shutdown procedure, pocket the key, and disable the rotor. Retrieve and install the ladder for access. Do not stand on the rotor. It can turn unexpectedly. Slipping or falling can result in serious injury. To access the rotor from the conveyor, complete the startup procedure with the discharge conveyor fully lowered and raise the magnetic conveyor. Follow the shutdown procedure, pocket the key, and disable the rotor. Install both cylinder locks. A raised magnetic conveyor can result in death or serious injury. Make sure the access steps are clean and clear of all tools and debris. There are 3 areas where material may plug the discharge conveyor: the rotor box outlet, between the belly conveyor and the discharge conveyor, and in the wheels or mechanisms of the conveyors. Remove jammed or bridged material as needed. If dislodging material by hand or with tools is unsuccessful, the rotor controls can be used. Exit the machine and stay away from the rotor area. Keep all personnel away and follow the startup procedure. Rotate the rotor as needed. Stay away from the rotor when rotating. Entanglement can result in death or serious injury. Using the momentary conveyor forward and reverse, attempt to clear any remaining material. Shut down the machine and disable the rotor. Remove previously jammed or bridge material from the rotor box area. Once the debris is cleared, stow the access ladder. Keep all personnel away and follow the startup procedure. Disengage the comb service lock pin. Move the comb into the work position. Close the hatch. Follow the shutdown procedure. Pocket the key and disable the rotor. Uninstall the magnetic conveyor cylinder locks. Lower the magnetic conveyor into the operating position. Resume operation. Large material may jam the rotor, preventing rotation. Let's go over the steps to remove that material. To clear the material from the rotor box using a loader or excavator, achieve visibility into the hopper from the loader. Allow the machine to complete the intended number of automatic reverse attempts. With clear visibility into the rotor box, use the loader or excavator with the appropriate attachment to dislodge material. Vermeer supplies every new low-speed shredder with an operator's, maintenance, and parts manual that provides important operation and safety information. If you suspect something is wrong with your shredder, stop use and contact your Vermeer dealer. Do not take chances with your safety by continuing to use a machine that needs maintenance or repair. Safe work practices are an important part of accident prevention. Do your part in following these procedures for your safety and the safety of others.